welcome to this Onepoint Wellness session. My name is Els. Let me give you some context for those of you who might be joining us for the first time. Since May 2020, we have been hosting these sessions with the aim of sharing some insights and principles of Raja Yoga meditation, also called the yoga of the mind. This form of meditation is practiced by several of us working for Onepoint Consulting, an IT consultancy company based in London. I personally find this practice very beneficial, not only in the workplace, but also in my personal life. These half-hour sessions are facilitated by experienced meditators from different professional backgrounds and from around the world. The sessions involve discussing topics such as the power of the mind, the importance of resilience, or how to deal with negative thoughts, and they include a short meditation exercise. So far, we have had more than 150 guest speakers who have contributed to this project, and we hope that many individuals will take benefit from it. The sessions have been recorded and they are available on YouTube. Today, I'm very pleased to welcome Philippa Blackham, who joins us from the UK. Philippa is a journalist and a radio presenter. She worked for BBC Radio 4 for 15 years, including 7 years as a reporter and presenter of Women's Hour. She is the founder of 100 Women of Spirit, which explores the way in which women put their spirituality into practice in the workplace. Philippa has been practicing and teaching Raja Yoga meditation for many years. So I'm very pleased, Philippa, that you can join us today. And the topic is synchronicity. Is it a crazy coincidence or something more curious? So thank you, Philippa. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Els, and thank you for inviting me to be part of this group that meets. It's wonderful to be here and great to be spending this time with you. And yes, we have the topic of synchronicity to talk about for this session. And it's a word that was given to me to think about a few months ago. And at first I thought, well, what have I got to say about synchronicity? But it was one of those things, the more I thought about it, the more I realized I did have to say about it. And the more I was aware of synchronicity happening in my life. So if you're not so sure exactly what synchronicity is, it's one of those experiences that we all of us, I'm sure, have had at some time. I had an experience the other day where I was writing a get well card to my aunt who was seriously ill, and she's not someone that we kept regular contact with, maybe spoke about twice a year. And I sat and wrote the card and all my kind of real pure feelings towards her I was putting into my message. And as soon as I put the pen down, the phone rang. And who was on the phone but my aunt? And it's those kind of moments. I had a friend tell me the other day about her experience. She was ringing someone in Australia who was going to be 80, and she wanted to wish him a happy birthday. And she thought she had his telephone number and she rang it. And she was surprised when a woman answered the phone, and she said, oh, I've rung to speak to John. And she said, oh, he's just walked in. And so she said, okay, can I speak to him? And he came over to the phone, and she had misdialed the number by 1 digit. And instead of ringing his house, she had rung the Wimpy Burger Bar in the town where he lived. And it just so happened that at the moment that she rang, he was walking in through the door. How do you explain moments like that? And I'm sure you have your own stories and your own examples of when something has happened which just feels like that's crazy. How did that happen? So I'm wanting to explore with you today some of the ideas that have been put forward as to what is going on in these moments of synchronicity. And why is this a topic relevant for people working in the business community? Well, I suppose, in any work you do, but particularly in business, you want to be in tune, you want to be feeling that you're in the flow of your life and in the flow of the other businesses that you're working with. And so if we can learn to tap into whatever it is that is happening when we experience these moments of synchronicity, then maybe we can use this to help us in our business and in our working life. I actually had an experience just this morning. I do my morning meditation, and we have a class where we read something and discuss, and I was online listening to this, and then that came to an end, and then I was thinking about the day that I had coming up, and it was like, oh yeah, I know, I've got that talk I'm doing on synchronicity. And then I just checked my messages, and then I just clicked onto my Facebook just to see what had been happening. And the very first message that popped up on my Facebook this morning, and I've got it in front of me here, was a message that said, coincidences or synchronicities cannot be explained solely as random occurrences or mere coincidence. Instead, they may suggest a deeper interconnectedness and underlying pattern to the seemingly chaotic and random nature of life. And that's a quote by Alan Watts from his book, The Unconscious and Conscious Mind. And that was the message that popped up. Another moment of synchronicity. And I think for me, it illustrates how when we are in our flow, when we are putting out a very clear message of what we're wanting, of what we're thinking about, it's almost as if the universe reflects that back to us. It's like a second opinion from the great beyond, that yes, we're on the right track. Yes, we're thinking about the right things. Yes, this is the right way to go. It's like a confirmation. So the word synchronicity, it comes from the Greek words syn, which means with, and chronos, which means time. So it's being with time, being with the flow of time. And it's a word that was coined by Carl Jung, the psychologist, psychotherapy expert Carl Jung in the 1950s. And he defined it as the occurrence of meaningful coincidences that are acausal. In other words, the underlying idea that there is unity in diversity. He said, a meaningful coincidence of two or more events where something other than probability of chance is involved. So that's what Carl Jung had to say about it. And it's different. Synchronicity is different from mere coincidence. Coincidence is when you're looking for a car parking space, and as you come up to the row of parked cars, somebody just pulls out and creates a space for you. That's a happy coincidence. Synchronicity would be where you're driving along thinking about your aunt who's just died. And in the case of my aunt, I was writing the card for, she did go on and die. You're thinking about your aunt and the fact that she used to drive a yellow VW Beetle, quite a distinctive car. And you're really feeling about her, thinking about her. And you come along to find your car parking space, and then a yellow VW Beetle reverses out of one of the spaces, giving you a chance to park your car there. That would be synchronicity. I was just thinking about a yellow VW Beetle, and one just literally reversed out in front of me and created a space for me to park. That's synchronicity. And different people have had different ways of trying to understand what that means. The quote by Alan Watts that I shared with you just a moment ago, he talked about the interconnectedness of all life. In other words, it's not so crazy when you think about the fact that we are all so connected with each other, that our thoughts reach each other, no matter where the other person is in the world or what the situation is. we are connected to everyone and everything in this world. And the more we become aware of that, the more we're in our flow, in the right flow of our life, the more these moments of synchronicity will happen. So Hinduism talks about this and explains this by saying, that we are not just connected at a fundamental level, but that we are one being. They have this idea that I am you and you are me, and I am that tree, and I am that blade of grass, that idea of omnipresence. And that's why these moments of synchronicity happen. That's one way of looking at it. Another way would be behavioral economists, who would see it in terms of confirmation bias. In other words, what you're thinking about, what you're looking out for is what you're going to see, because you're going to notice it. So in other words, if you're thinking of buying a particular car and you suddenly notice that type of car on the road all the time, it's because you're bringing it into your conscious awareness, and therefore that's what you're seeing. You're not noticing other cars, you're just noticing that car. And that's what they call a confirmation bias. Another explanation would come from the quantum physicists, who would say that all is consciousness. It's what we and the whole world are. It's higher consciousness, it's collective consciousness. We are all part of one group mind. So that's slightly different from the Hindus, but it's talking about one consciousness. And therefore, these moments of synchronicity will happen because we are all part of the same one consciousness. Then you would have the skeptics, who would say, you're just giving meaning to events that are happening, and you're making them mean more than they actually do. They're actually meaningless, but you're just choosing to make it mean something. So those would be the skeptics, saying you're reading more into it than is actually there. Then we had the psychologists and the idea of the unconscious mind, and they would talk about communication coming to us through signs, through omens, through messages that are being left by the universe for us to pick up, and it's because of our collective unconscious. And then we would have just everyday spirituality, which I suppose is the camp that I would fall into, which would talk about the idea that, yes, we are physical beings having an experience in this physical world, but we exist on other dimensions, on other planes. And there is a non-physical aspect which we can tap into. The idea of being a soul, that I am a soul inhabiting this physical body, having an experience of the world through this body. But I'm able to tap into a realm beyond this physical world, and possibly even that there is an intelligence that exists above and beyond me. Some people would talk about having guides, or might even talk about having angels, might talk about having a divine presence that somehow is interacting with your life and seeing a bigger picture, that you can somehow tap into that and feel the presence of that energy in your life. In other words, I'm not alone. There is a greater intelligence in this world, in this universe, that is on the journey of life with me. And the more I'm able to be still and quiet, and that's why meditation is so important, the more I'm able to pick up on that subtle presence and feel the effects of that presence in my life. And on your spiritual path, these become quite noticeable, that you're searching, you're looking, you're journeying with a question. And maybe, there's a particular book that someone lends to you, or there's a leaflet that you pick up at the library, or there's a notice on a notice board, or something on the side of a bus, whatever it is, that makes you question or it makes you pursue a particular line of inquiry, maybe go along to a talk, maybe read a book, maybe meet someone with whom you have a significant conversation. And it's almost like these are confirmations that you are on the right path, that you're going in the right direction, that you're in your right flow. And the more you open up to the possibility of there being something above and beyond my own physicality that I can tap into, that I can take inspiration from, that I can use as a guiding principle in my life, then the more you will be opened up to these incredible moments that seem to really be having a message for you, that you, if you've got the ears to hear, the eyes to see, you can interpret in a way that can feel very meaningful and very helpful. That yes, it feels right for me to be here doing this. And it's a very kind of inspiring experience when it happens to you, because it makes you think about the fact that, you know, it's not just random that I am here now in this moment. It's not just random that we are sharing this time together and that you're listening to what I'm saying. And that the more we open up to the possibilities of being part of this very interconnected universe where we have a connection with other people through the power of our mind, through the power of our thoughts, through the power of our intention, we can perhaps make things happen together that we couldn't on our own. It means that we enter a world of possibility, of endless possibilities, because our thoughts are so significant. And when we expand our thinking, it multiplies, it magnifies, and we can achieve things that we never dreamt were possible for us. It is extraordinary when you think of, you know, everyone's individual lives. It can seem so random that they wake up here, they get dressed, they get on this particular bus, this particular train, go to this particular destination for their work, go to this particular deli to buy their sandwich. You know, all these interactions, all these thousands of people that we could potentially have a connection with. And yet it's only very specific individuals that we do end up having an exchange with, meeting, bumping into, having a relationship with, getting to know. And why is it those people that we get to know and not all those other thousands of people? What are the guiding principles that are operating that mean we have the experience that we have going through our lives, that we do have, rather than any other experience? And at this point, I would need to just touch on to the idea of karma philosophy, which I'm sure you are aware of, which talks about how our actions, our thoughts, every energy that emits from us is like a signal that goes out into the universe. And the universe turns it around and reflects it back, and we experience the return of that in the form of a return of our karmic action. So in science, they would talk about every action having an equal and opposite reaction. Or in Christianity, they would talk about, as you sow, so shall you reap. This idea that what you put out is what will come back. And the connections that you have with people sets up a karmic chain reaction that means that you will experience the return of whatever dealings you've had with people and how you have dealt with them. And the significance of that is that it means that we are no longer operating in a random universe where random things are happening. there's actually a deep significance to what is happening to me in my life and to the interactions that I'm experiencing and the way in which the world around me is interacting with me. You know, it's all set up through this law of karma that is reflecting back to me the actions that I myself have performed. And this can feel a slightly overwhelming or daunting thought, but it can also equally feel a very empowering thought, because it means that from this point going forwards, I have a control over my future and what I'm going to experience in the future, because that future will be determined by what I do in the present moment, by my actions, by my thoughts, by my attitudes and behavior in the present moment, setting up a return at some point in the future. And so let me make a decision that from this moment on, I'm going to put out positive energy into the world, happiness into the world, cooperation, compassion, love, empathy, all of these lovely qualities. That's what I choose to put out, and therefore that is what will flow back to me, because it is a universal law that what you put out will flow back to me. So we begin to expand our thinking, expand our awareness, and move from a position of feeling that we're the victims somehow of how life has treated us, of the cards that we've been dealt, whether fairly or unfairly. It all feels very out of control and random. Actually, there is an absolute beauty and simplicity to everything that I'm experiencing. And I can now reverse engineer my future by, in this moment, putting out something which is going to be beneficial to me when it flows back to me. So that's on the one hand. On the other hand is we are opening up to a world of possibilities beyond our limited conscious mind. And we're accessing our superpowers, if you like, our ability to be connected to others through the power of thought and thinking, to be connected to events in the world through our thought and through our thinking, and that I can have a positive, beneficial effect on those things by simply putting out thoughts of love and cooperation. So I've got a few little tips of ways in which you can develop this skill of living in life's flow, of feeling the interconnection with life and with other people. 10 points. Point number 1, to bring in mindfulness and awareness into your life. Practice paying attention to just this present moment. And we're so good in our lives at planning the future, planning ahead, thinking about things that others are going to need around us, that we're very in danger of losing the beauty of just being in the present moment with no thoughts about anything other than just being here now. And that's why meditation very often introduces the idea of the breath, and concentrating on the breath is because it brings you very much into that present moment. Point number 2 would be open. Don't limit your thinking to that's ridiculous. Think, well, that's an interesting idea. Let us explore it. Let us live for a while as if it were true and see what happens. So you're opening your receptivity and your openness to new possibilities. And point number 3, be humble. Journey through life with the attitude of being a student of life, of having questions rather than necessarily being the one that always has the answers. Learn to hold your own desires very loosely. yes, you have plans, you have intentions, but maybe there are other things that you hadn't thought of that could be better for you. So not to be rigid with your um, with your planning, with your thinking, but allow for other possibilities to come in. So don't impose yourself on life, but rather allow the flow of life to guide you. Point number 4, be trusting. Have trust. Have trust that you're being held at the highest level. Have trust that everything is going to be okay. Trust your intuition. If you're really getting a sense about something, a gut feeling, learn to trust that instinct. Learn to follow the paths that are presented to you. You know, if someone is encouraging you to go along to something, maybe there's a reason they're doing that. Maybe there's something there for you to look at. Trust it and follow it, and learn to trust your instincts. The next one is follow your instincts. Listen to what your instincts are telling you. Doors maybe are opening up for you, and that is your instinct, is to go through that particular door. Trust that. Number 6 is try and develop some practice around meditation or sitting in silence, or if you have a prayer life, try and give more focus to that. Create a little space, a little moment in your working day when you can just sit in that stillness and listen and have that silence, because our lives are so surrounded by noise and busyness and doing, and we sometimes don't make space for just silence, because it's in those moments of silence that we can hear that voice from within, that inner voice, or we can hear guidance that might be coming from beyond ourselves, from another dimension, and maybe there's something there for us to listen to. And point number 7 would be learn to tune into your body. You know, we're very heady, very much involved in our thinking and thought processes. And we're not so good at listening to what our body is telling us. But there's a saying that the body is constantly eavesdropping on the mind, which means that, you know, the body is listening to our thoughts. And that is why they say that so many illnesses actually have their origin in our thinking, in our mind. And anxious thoughts create a knot in the stomach that can lead to, you know, a stomach ulcer. You know, that would be one example. Listen to the body. What is the body feeling? Is there a knot in your stomach? Is there tension you're holding? What is that tension about? Let me listen to that. Also listen to your dreams. The more attention you pay to your dreams, the more your dreams will speak to you. And of course, as Carl Jung said, the dreams are the voice of the unconscious. So maybe there are things that you're feeling or things that you're aware of that your conscious mind is blocking or not having any attention, but it's coming through in your dreams. So what are your dreams trying to tell you? What is the teaching there for you? What is the lessons or the guidance that you can take from your dream and your dream life? And point number 9, related to sleep, is that very special moment between being asleep and being awake. I try and train myself to be fully aware of that moment just as I emerge from sleep, because I find that in that moment, there's often a voice that comes through, a thought, and it can be sometimes really mundane, like, you know, I forgot to do something, or I need to do something, or there's someone I need to connect with about something. It's often mundane, but it can also be quite significant. I do a bit of writing, and often inspiration for writing will come through in that particular moment. So pay attention to that moment of waking. And then the final point, number 10, is simply to ask. You know, we tend to feel that we have to just do everything ourselves, and it's all hard work and it's labor and it's a struggle and it's an effort. But if you take the point that we live in an interconnected universe and that there are unseen realms that are there to support us and help us on our life journey, then being very clear about what it is you're trying to manifest and asking for support for that. You know, there's no harm in asking. But the thing with asking is you have to be aware of your thinking, and you have to be very clear about what it is you're asking for. So some people are very good at complaining about the things that they don't want in their life. Too much of this, don't want that. I definitely have had enough of this. You know, and their thinking is about the things they don't want rather than about what they do want. And the example I give there is if you were to do a Google search and you were to put in, I've really had enough of seeing people in red hats. I don't want to see any more red hats. Google is just going to latch onto red hats, and it's just going to show you even more red hats because that's what you've put out. Even though it's what you don't want, that's the thought that you've put out. Whereas if you actually want to see purple hats, not red hats, don't say, I don't want to see red hats. Say, I want to see purple hats. I love purple hats. And Google will throw up loads of images of purple hats, which is what you do want to see and what you do love. So in the same way, make sure your thoughts and your asking is for what you do want, rather than complaining or moaning about things that you don't want, because otherwise you'll just get more of the things that you don't want. So those are very sort of practical tips that you can incorporate into your life, and you can experiment with and see how it begins to open up a more expanded version of yourself. And it's an incredible journey when you begin with this process of thinking that there are more possibilities than you can ever dream of, simply by stepping into this realm of limitless possibilities and limitless potential. Because you as an individual, you know, you are unique, and you have a purpose to your life. Each of us has a purpose to your life, and our job is to discover what that purpose is and to ask for help in finding that purpose and then living that purpose, being the best version of ourselves that we can be, and living according to, you know, whatever is the plan that we have for ourselves, or that, you know, the powers beyond have for us. So I really wish you well on this journey of synchronicity, and let's just maybe have a few moments of shared meditation together, and we can just experience some of these ideas that I've been talking about and sharing with you this morning. So let's just start with that breath that I spoke about. Let's take a big breath. And as you exhale, feel that you're letting go of any negativity or tension that you may be holding in your body. And just bring yourself to the present moment, feeling your life energy within your body, letting your body feel really soft and gentle. And then becoming aware of the incredible being that you are, the huge potential that you have. Aware of having capacities beyond what you're currently using. And draw into yourself this feeling of deep silence and deep peace. At the heart of my being, I am peace. This is my true nature. As a being of peace, as a human being, I realize the extent to which we are all so deeply connected. We are all part of the delicate web of life. What affects one part of that web affects the whole. I begin to realize the tenderness with which I'm being held at a high level. That there is beauty and truth and love that is available to me. And with a pure heart, I journey into the experience of these qualities. I ask to be shown what is right for me at this point in time. Where should I be placing my intention and my energy? And trust that it will become clear. Watch the signals, the messages, the confirmations of the path ahead. Staying with this feeling of peace, I come back to this moment and I have gratitude for the abundance, the beauty, the love that I have in my life. Thank you.
Thank you, Philippa, for this beautiful meditation exercise, but also for sharing your thoughts on this topic. I've taken quite some notes actually, and I also liked when you shared these 10 points from mindfulness to finding the purpose of your life. Thanks for talking us through those. But one of the things that I particularly like is when you explain that, let me put happiness, compassion, love, and kindness into the world, and that will flow back to me. I think that really summarizes it, that how we can re-engineer or reverse engineer our future. So very beautiful. Thank you so much, Philippa.
Thank you, Els.
You're welcome. Thanks to the audience. I hope you have enjoyed the session, and we're looking forward to welcoming you again at the next one session. Bye-bye. Have a nice day.